Welcome to ESCAP's induction modules on gender equality. Today we will be exploring the topic gender discrimination in the workplace. Workplace gender discrimination comes in many different forms, but generally it means that an employee or job applicant is treated differently or less favourably because of their sex, gender identity, or sexual orientation. This can occur at all stages of employment, from job application, recruitment process, to the advancement of career progress. It occurs both in the formal and informal sectors. Gender discrimination at the workplace limits people's full potential and reduces workplace productivity. Global data from the ILO shows that gender-based discrimination has caused 50% of the population to be unable to realise their true potential. While the majority of women have experienced at least one instance of gender discrimination during their working lives, women with intersectional vulnerabilities are known to experience greater workplace discrimination. Worldwide, women with disabilities have 19.6% of an employment rate, compared with 29.9% of women without disabilities. They are also more prone to experience sexual harassment at the workplace. A recent study suggested that women with disabilities are 44% more likely than those without to experience sexual harassment at the workplace. Data from UNAIDS in 2021 also showed that sexual and gender diverse women experience greater incidence of violence, and female migrants also face stronger discrimination at the workplace and are more vulnerable to mistreatment. Decent work, gender equality, and non-discrimination feature prominently in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, namely in the goals SDG 5 and SDG 8 and their relevant targets. Discrimination can have many manifestations. It is often subtle and insidious, undermining people's dignity and their future. It is highly dependent on the type of work carried out, whether it be formal or non-formal. Women face discrimination in career advancement and promotion. This is evidenced by the underrepresentation of women in managerial and leadership roles, with the segregation becoming more pronounced at the higher levels of the organization's hierarchy. Data from Asia and the Pacific shows that women only make up 20% of all managerial positions, with the figure falling to 17% when considering women's representation in senior and middle management jobs. Women that do occupy management roles are disproportionately found in administrative and commercial functions. This segregation is partially the result of gendered stereotypes and discriminatory social norms that portray men as more qualified than women for positions requiring judgment and leadership. These stereotypes often mean women are overlooked for training opportunities that will provide them with the tools for career progression. The underrepresentation of women in managerial roles is a basic display of gender-based discrimination and acts as a barrier to gender equality as defined in SDG Target 5.1 to end discrimination against women and girls, and SDG Target 5.5, which looks to ensure full participation in leadership and decision-making. It also has a substantial role in widening the gender pay gap by ensuring that women remain in lower-paying jobs, making it incompatible with SDG Target 8.5, which advocates for full employment with decent work and equal pay. Unpaid care and domestic work. Data indicates that women in Asia and the Pacific perform 4.1 times as much unpaid care and domestic work as men do. This work creates additional burden and time poverty, especially in the absence of proper care infrastructure. This often means women lack resources to pursue career advancement at the same level as men. Because of unpaid care and domestic work, women in the formal sector are often held back from leadership positions. Other women, especially in contexts where care policies and infrastructure are lacking, are pushed into the informal sector, which provides more flexible work arrangements, albeit at the cost of social security safeguards and government regulation. The negative impact of unpaid care and domestic work on women's participation is exacerbated by absent or inadequate legal frameworks. Parental leave is one such way that legislation impedes women's economic empowerment. Across Asia Pacific, maternity leave provisions are more generous than paternity leave provisions. 40 out of the 46 economies where data is available have legislation mandating maternity leave, whereas only 24 mandate paternity leave. Even when it is provided, paternity leave is typically much shorter than maternity leave. For example, mothers in the East Asia and the Pacific region are entitled to an average of 91 days of paid maternity leave, while fathers receive an average of only 5 days of paid paternity leave. The lack of adequate paternity leave reinforces the widespread belief that women are expected to shoulder the bulk of childcare responsibilities, which in turn contributes to a greater proportion of mothers than fathers leaving the workforce after having children. Poor enforcement and protection mechanisms regarding maternity leave are also an area of concern. While some countries in the region provide maternity leave, employers may still choose to let pregnant workers go in order to save money on their salaries. This significantly hinders women's ability to enter, remain in, and advance in the workforce. Unpaid care and domestic work is a significant barrier to gender equality. As such, it appears as targets of 5.4 of Sustainable Development Goal 5 to value unpaid care and promote shared domestic responsibilities, and Target 5.5 to ensure full participation in leadership and decision-making. It also has a substantial role in widening the gender pay gap by ensuring that women remain in lower-paying jobs or in the informal sector without labour protections, making it incompatible with SDG Target 8.5, which advocates for full employment and decent work with equal pay, and 8.8, which advocates protecting labour rights and promoting safe working environments. Violence and harassment is a serious manifestation of discrimination at the workplace and significantly impairs women's engagement in the workforce on the same level as men. Harassment may take the form of words, gestures, and actions which create an intimidating and hostile work environment. It includes harassment based on any grounds, such as race, religion, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation. According to the recent data, between 30 and 40% of women in the Asia-Pacific region reported having experienced some form of sexual harassment within the workplace. However, it is expected that the actual number is substantially greater, given that harassment at the workplace is typically underreported. Women in the informal sector are at an especially high risk due to the prevalence of insecure contracts and a lack of social and legal protections. Harassment at the workplace is a basic display of gender-based discrimination and acts as a barrier to gender equality, as identified in SDG Target 5.1, to end discrimination against women and girls. It is also incompatible with SDG Target 8.8, which advocates for safe working environments. Harassment victims frequently experience mental and behavioural consequences, such as anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as physical consequences, such as a loss of appetite, nausea, insomnia, and stress-related illnesses. Harassment not only harms one's health, but it also harms one's finances. Harassment can have a negative impact on a victim's work performance and career path. Many victims leave their jobs due to fear and low confidence. As a result, financial issues such as missed pay and unpaid leave may arise. So how can gender discrimination in the workplace be addressed? ESCAP and other relevant UN bodies and international institutions have made several recommendations on how to improve the system at the national, local, and organisational levels to bring about sustainable change that will see women treated equally in the workforce, making the economy safer, more inclusive, and hopefully encouraging more women to enter and remain in the workforce. These recommendations can be divided into 3 key categories. To reduce discrimination in the workplace, gender-inclusive legislation supported by strong monitoring and enforcement procedures is needed. It is recommended that governments across the Asia-Pacific region take the appropriate legislative steps to establish and/or improve social security and care infrastructure. Examples include allowances and benefits through social insurance programs, the provision of universal quality childcare, policies which encourage a more equitable division of leave between parents, and laws that prohibit all forms of workplace violence and harassment against women. Underlying all forms of discrimination faced by women in the workplace and society lies deeply ingrained societal norms and harmful gender stereotypes, which regulate women to the private sphere and portray them as inferior to men. Challenging gender stereotypes can be pivotal in addressing the motivations behind gender-based violence and the dominance of women in providing childcare, as well as in tackling the gendered segregation of occupations between different industries and within managerial roles. It is therefore crucial that when tackling gender discrimination, governments address the root of the cause through the introduction of various programs and initiatives aimed at shifting public opinion. These programs may take the form of media campaigns and educational initiatives. Finally, governments are encouraged to take measures to mainstream gender equality initiatives, encouraging gender to be taken into consideration in all areas of life. This can be effective in addressing the gender gap, for example, in which various governments' departments can be utilised to review wages across all industries, implement gender-sensitive analytical job classification and evaluation methods, and conduct regular pay surveys. In order to effectively address gender discrimination in the workplace, it is also crucial that the government invest and endorse national data collection and research. Such measures would be monumental in bringing attention to the often invisible hardships faced by women and provide the required evidence to ensure that policies and initiatives are both relevant and efficient in promoting gender equality and female economic empowerment. For more induction modules, head to www.asiapacificgender.org. And for more information, check out www.unsgap.org or follow us on our social media channels. Thank you.